Let's wrangle with Melbourne broadcaster and author Justin Smith, and on the desk here with me, late debate co-host Liz Storer. Liz, Albo couldn't even get a phone call from Donald Trump.
I know, this just goes from bad to worse. It's really embarrassing at this point. But what we can count on is there's nothing happening in this space. It simply looks like we've counted on getting a good deal like we did last time, and it's not going to happen. Donald Trump has always been very big on tariffs. You can watch videos of him talking about this 20 years ago, saying if I was president of this country, I'd use tariffs. Here's how I'd use them and why. And he's doing the exact thing that he said he'd do 20 years ago. And you just hope that this is going to force Australia to pull its own socks up. You just can't count on these guys anymore. And I think this is what Donald Trump is doing for his allies. Yes, we're still friends, but he's like, you guys need to stand on your own 2 feet a lot more than you currently are.
What do you reckon, Justin? Kevin Rudd is not really the right person to be pushing our case in Washington, and Albo's all at sea. The Trade Minister wasn't even over there. I mean, what are they doing?
Well, I think Liz summed it up when she said, we're still friends, but... is probably just sums the whole thing up. Look, I don't know if I'm not here to stand in front of Albanese or Rudd, but I don't think it's particularly embarrassing for them because of what Liz just said, is that Trump was always going to do this. And I mean, and for the people, particularly the Australian people and parts of the Australian media that have been cheering Trump on and the whole Make America Great campaign since 2015 and 16, this is what you get. When he makes America great again, this is what you get.
But we got an exemption last time.
Fine, when it's sitting on top of a red hat. But then when you cop one in the ghoulies like we just have, then we've got to accept responsibility for it. This is what it is.
But we got an exemption last time.
He was always going to do this.
But we got an exemption last time.
It was always going to happen. It was always going to work out this way, and it has.
No, it wasn't, because we got an exemption last time. You don't think maybe the difference this time was that the people asking for the exemption have spent the last 10 years talking like this?
Who could believe our luck that this madman called Trump could have been elected?
We have an alliance with the US, we've got to deal with him, but that doesn't mean that you're uncritical about it. He scares out of me.
And as the United States in the last 4 years has been run by a village idiot.
I think everyone is rightly appalled at what Mr Trump is reported to have said. I mean, none of us have a vote in the US election. That's obviously a matter ultimately for the Americans, but we can have an opinion about what he said, and what he said was appalling.
I mean, you say all that, Liz, and then say, please take my phone call, I want a favour.
Did the Mexicans say the same thing?
I don't believe that Trump is basing such a decision like this on the fact that these guys have been mean to him.
I do. I think he's all about ego.
Good on you, Liz.
I don't think he's being that
smart,
petty.
Liz.
I reckon petty is a word for him.
I genuinely don't.
Tell him,
something
Liz.
as big
Tell
as
him.
this, something as important as this, it's not based... did it maybe play a part? Sure. It's bad optics. But I don't believe that they're going to turn around and punish a nation that... We've followed them into every single war. Like, when we say they're our closest ally, we literally mean we'd be blown out of the water.
Us in some.
Not many. Mostly it's us following them. And they know, much like China can flex and do whatever they like, whether it's in the South China Sea, whether they... And you asked earlier on the show, are they going to, is Albo going to get some more respect from China? No. They know they don't have to show it to us. No. These are the heavyweights.
This is my point.
Australia is a middle power, and with this government, it would seem to have its heart set.
We are
becoming an even smaller power, so they can boss us around.
We are a significant nation. We should be a significant nation. We're behaving like a bunch of... We're just doormats at the moment, and they've embarrassed themselves. And why would Trump deal with them? It just staggers me. It just staggers me that these people are running the show.
So do you believe it will be different if it's a Liberal Party?
Do we have the Prime Minister speaking up to Rudd, or do we have him speaking up to Trump, or do we have them being a doormat? I mean, which one do you want? I don't really quite understand.
You've got to speak up sensibly, mate. You don't go around speaking like some university protester bagging a bloke and then who you're going to need to do business with.
Yeah,
you've got to speak like an adult. Now, let let me move on before we run out of other topics. I've got to get your thoughts on this because you're living and breathing the Victorian experience. Here's your Premier about her new bail laws and just reminding people around the country, Labor's been in power in Victoria now for 10 years and now she's doing this.
The laws we are introducing be the toughest laws in Australia. And we're doing this as a response to listening to the concerns of the Victorian community. It's time that there be respect put back into our system, respect for the rules, which is why the consequences for breaking the rules whilst on bail is a key plank in the reforms that we are introducing here today.
Just in 10 years and now they admit they've got a law and order problem?
Well, I mean, look, there might be a case of better late than never, and we, you know, look, it's good. It's a good move. I guess the next problem is which is a constant problem, particularly I see in Victoria, is what are the courts going to do with it? Because we've been down this path before. You might go back a few years ago where there was a problem with people beating the hell out of emergency services workers. So they brought in mandatory jail for people who assaulted emergency services workers, and the judges found a way around it. So that's what they do. They find their way around things. So it's great. What happened today is great. Let's see how it plays out in the courts.
Yeah, better late than never. So, now, Liz, I've got to get your thoughts on what's happening in the US with Tesla. Tesla is now very unpopular with the lefties. They loved it for a while. Now that Elon Musk is cutting costs, they hate it. Have a look at how some people are expressing their hatred.
Just look at the vandalism to this $100,000 Tesla Cybertruck. Dozens of Cybertrucks at a parking lot in Fort Lauderdale were spray painted with a vulgar term directed at Tesla owner Elon Musk. Some vandals recorded themselves in the act. Across the USA, owners of the distinctive-looking vehicles say they're being targeted by strangers.
Smoke billowing above several Tesla Chargers on fire in the overnight hours in Littleton. 7 of 12 Chargers damaged at the Tesla station, located in the back corner of a large shopping area.
Political hatred taken out on electric vehicles now.
Indeed. I mean, normally we would have cheered this on, not being really all for the EVs, but this is now extraordinary, the response from Trump saying that he's going to make this domestic terrorism. It's going to be classified as. He's really swinging in behind his mate, which is no surprise. When
let's have a look, actually.
Your mate has spent over $250 million getting you elected.
Exactly. He's got a Tesla at the White House now. Have a look.
I'm going to buy because, number one, it's a great product, as good as it gets. And number two, because this man has devoted his energy and his life to doing this. And I think he's been treated very unfairly by a very small group of people. And I just want people to know that you can't be penalized for being a patriot. And he's a great patriot.
So he literally turned the White House lawn into a Tesla lot, had them all lined up saying, and promised to buy one, even though he admitted he's not allowed to drive.
He's got Trump into electric vehicles now. You're going to love it.
Oh,
thanks for George. Thanks for your exasperation there in Melbourne, Justin. We appreciate it. Justin Smith and Liz Astora, thanks very much. We'll wrangle again next week.